What it is, my tin-ho, peace and grease here. And I guess it's that time. That the time that we talk about Railjack, or off the Railjack. Honestly, I am hesitant to even broach this topic because there are so many unknowns surrounding Railjack. We don't have a roadmap for Railjack. We don't have any clear indicators or direction for Railjack. We don't know what DE plans to change or add or remove or fix. We don't know what pivotal role Railjack will play in the new war, if any at all. We don't know if there's a whole nother update that's going to coincide with Railjack. There's just so many question marks surrounding Railjack that I feel it's a little bit premature to even start talking about it. With that said, however, Railjack is a hot mess, and there's certainly a lot to unpack with it. But case in point, one of the concerns that I had was the reactors. And DE just recently announced they're going to buff all reactors. Well, this is both a boon and just a downright shame. And the reason that I say that is because, and if you're unaware, the reactor is the one limiting factor for every single player out there in regards to Railjack. The reactor controls your avionics capacity. It controls the amount of avionics mods you can run, and it can control just how good your Railjack can be or how bad it can be. In fact, in all of my time in Railjack thus far, every single reactor I've received, probably, I'm guessing, 30-ish of them at this point, not a single one of them even came close to exceeding the standard Dojo Sigma Mark III reactor, let alone surpassing them. And unfortunately for me, I deleted them all. If they weren't at least equal to the Mark III Dojo reactor, I got rid of them. Well, now DE is going to be buffing those reactors, and I don't have them anymore. So that's the kind of point that I'm trying to make. It sucks that if you had reactors, you deleted them, and now they're all going to get a buff. Now what do you got to do? Now you got to go through and regrind for all these different reactors again. Real shame. But it's also a boon to Railjack in general because reactors were a very, very bad part of Railjack. Okay. But I think I feel, at least I feel that I need to give credit where credit is due to DE. The way that they pushed out Railjack live on the Game Show Award, I dug that. I really did. And understand that I'm on console. I'm a console peasant. And, specifically on PS4. So I guess I'm a peasant PS4 player. But I'm a triple P. That's what I am. But the simple fact of the matter is that we on console had just recently received the update that PC had had for a good long while. So we were already running new content when DE added that last Railjack drop right on top of it. And that is a very, very rare occurrence. In fact, I don't remember the last time that happened with Warframe. That's how rare it is. And it was a really good feeling of knowing once I finish or get tired of doing one type of content, I can immediately pivot and go to a different type of content. Really great feeling. With that being said, however, as I've stated, Railjack is a hot mess. It's putting it mildly. Now, fun fact, and I'm not sure why developers don't already know this, but I'm going to reiterate it, and that is gamers are, and it's not just a gamer behavior as much as it is just a human behavior in all different types of endeavors. But we have a tendency when something is really good and really entertaining and really fun to overlook a lot of its flaws. And we even do this with people that we're in relationships with. We tend to overlook these flaws because there's such a greater appeal to it that surpasses those flaws. But keeping it in game format, if the update wears thin really quickly, isn't that entertaining, isn't that good, people tend to focus on those flaws. But it's also personal. Some people are more critical than others. The reason I bring this up is because there's a honeymoon phase with Railjack. And this honeymoon phase, there's a lot of 4th of July, when you first start playing Railjack. And a lot of what I'm about to talk about, you may not be familiar with yet until you really start playing Railjack. But Railjack has a very thin veneer. And as you start to play it, that veneer starts to wear through very quickly. And you begin to see all these flaws and all of their glory. So, if you haven't played Railjack, a lot of what I'm going to say is going to kind of go over your head until you play it, and then you're going to start to see it. With all of those things being said, I could have potentially overlooked a lot of the really small glitches or bugs. Annoying as they were, and they were also friggin' hilarious. The problem was the game-breaking bugs associated with Railjack. I have lost so many intrinsics, resources, wreckage, avionics mods. I've even lost some drops. Like I lost a Queller blueprint, I lost a couple Shido parts because of game-breaking bugs. Getting stuck in an infinite load loop. Mission not updating, so the quest couldn't complete. Host migrates. Game freezing up. Game crash. On and on and on and on and on. And I'll never be able to get those back. Certainly, obviously, I could fill out a ticket and get the Shido parts back and the Queller blueprint, yada yada. But I'm not even going to waste my time going through that. Alright, I'm just not. I was going to say something else. I was going to talk about going to a different tangent, but I'm not going to do that here. So, it's really hard to overlook Railjack. But even if, hypothetically, DE fixes every single issue, bug, glitch, or flaw with Railjack, Railjack has a bigger issue at its core. And that is any type of space combat game or update, and I don't care who the developer is, they will fail for 1, 2, or both of these reasons. And that is lack of mission variety and lack of depth. If a space combat game fails in either one of those regards, it's doomed to failure itself. Case in point, if you look at Archwing. Archwing actually has about twice as much mission variety that Railjack does. You don't have to take my word for it. Hop into your navigation, check out the Archwing mission types, and count the different mission types. Railjack has no mission variety. That's all whatsoever. Every Proxima, destroy X amount of fighters, X amount of cruise ships. What's Saturn Proxima? X amount of fighters, X amount of cruise ships. Would you like to know what the Veil Proxima is? X amount of fighters, X amount of cruise ships. And yes, it's true that on some, very few and far between missions, there are little add-ons. Take out this captain. Destroy this ship. But at its core, it's still destroy X amount of fighters, X amount of cruise ships. There's literally no variety across the board. To compound that further, there's really no depth to it. There's nothing of interest going on there. And that's a real issue. And so, I don't feel good saying this, but in 6 months' time or less, Railjack will fail. Railjack is doomed at this point. And I don't want that. I'm not excited about that. I don't want that to come true. Listen, I'm a content creator just like anyone else. A little bit of different mindset because I don't care if my channel stays small. I'm cool with that. I don't have any trolls. I just have cool people, which I dig. But the point that I'm trying to make is if you're a content creator, you want what you're covering to be a smashing success. Because if it is, you get more views, you get more subs, yada, yada, yada. So there's no content creator out there saying, whoa, I want it to fail. Nobody wants that. In fact, I think there's a little bit of kind of, basically need to clarify something, and that is that a lot of content creators recently have been leaving Warframe, backing away from Warframe, stepping away from Warframe. And if you're not aware of why, I think it's important to point it out. And that is that DE specifically has been going down a path where things really aren't improving with the game. Things aren't coming. I mean, listen, Railjack was a messy update. This isn't the first messy update that DE has pushed out. This is just one of many messy updates. So that in and of itself isn't a new thing. But this habitual mistake, these habitual mistakes that they make over and over and over and over again that just don't make any sense is the real issue here. The real core problem. Now, maybe DE can fix this, and I'll talk about that more here in a minute. But the issue isn't just there either, with the core of Railjack. There are other issues that are going to compound the failure of Railjack, and one of them is progression. When you first start playing Railjack, the progression feels natural, feels normal, feels good. You're moving right along, you're upgrading your various, skills in Railjack. You get to a brick wall. Like this, for example. I have 15 intrinsics. Okay, let's see. What do I need to rank up one more intrinsic ability? Let's see. What do I need? 5 more intrinsics? Oh, no. 128. Yeah. You hit a brick wall that's covered in plaster with steel grating behind it and more brick walls, and then there's a bunch of timbers behind that. Your progression grinds to a screeching halt. And it just doesn't feel good anymore. And even as you're running Railjack missions to level things up, you just don't feel like you're accomplishing anything. Now, it's understandable why DE did this. DE didn't want this Railjack content to come out and then a week later for everyone to have finished it. So DE jacked up the intrinsics cost to an obscene level to try to artificially extend the viability of this content. And that's understandable. But the big question that you have to ask is, if nobody's playing this game mode, how viable is it going to be long term? I mean, you can make the intrinsics cost 80,000, 100,000. You could even make it 1,000. But if it's not fun and it's not engaging, nobody's going to play it. Furthermore, another problem is equipment, which we talked about already. The reactor was a really big issue. But even still, another issue are the weapons. The weapons just don't feel good. And 90% plus of the weapons only get one buff. Fire rate. Well, then you've got an issue with overheat. So then you're sitting there tapping the trigger button like, bang, bang. Oh, got a little too close to overheat. Let me wait a second. Bang. They just don't feel good. The heat accumulation is too much. It's too punishing. It just does not feel good. They're not fun to use. And I think that's really probably the best point to make about Railjack, is that in its heart, it's just no fun. Once you get past the honeymoon phase, it's not fun. It's dull, it's boring, it's uninteresting, and it's the same damn thing over and over and over again. There's nothing remarkable going on in these missions. There's nothing interesting going on in these missions. And you literally feel like you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again for hours. And you are. Furthermore, there's no rewards. And this is a problem that is Cuban Lich system has this problem. In fact, there's a lot of update content that I'm thinking about now that had this problem, where you have the core game of Warframe in the center, and then you have a bunch of orbiting satellites that are game content that have no real connection to the core game. Now, that in and of itself wouldn't be a problem if the content itself was a blast to play. Case in point, if you look at my Lich review, Liches get glitches. DE has made it very clear they have no intention of changing the Cuban Lich system. None whatsoever. So yeah, I could spit out a 40-minute video on how to really tap in to that potential of the Cuban Lich system and make it a fantastic update. but I would be screaming into the void. DE doesn't want to touch the Kubelet system. The way that it is now is how they want it. So my review of the Kubelet system was very superficial, because those are the only real changes that have any chance of being implemented. But the Railjack content is another one in which DE can't ignore. They can't leave it be. They can't sit back like they did with the Kubelet system and say, well, this is the way we want it. As I was saying, the case in point with the rewards. The rewards, and the whole point that I'm getting to, is that the rewards are only rewards for Railjack. You can spend 20 hours straight playing Railjack, and as soon as you go back to the main core game of Warframe, you felt like you accomplished nothing, that you have done nothing, because Railjack has absolutely nothing to do with really the core game. So you don't feel like you've earned anything, like you've accomplished anything. I mean, you get resources from Railjack that help you in Railjack. You get wreckage in Railjack that helps you with Railjack. You get avionics mods that help you in Railjack. See the point? Now I know somebody's going to point out, well, what about the Queller blueprint or the Pennant blueprint or the Quest and the Shidu? Listen, that's commonplace. When DE pushes out new content, they always add a new frame to it to get people to play it more. They always add a new weapon or two to it to get people to play more. They always try to add a little quest to it so people play it more. So I don't consider those rewards. I consider that just kind of an SOP for DE. Standard operating procedure. Where we're going to push out this content now, what can we lock behind it? And that's all that is. So no, I don't consider those rewards. But that's a really big problem for Railjack in general, because you just don't feel like you get anything from it. And no, DE, I am going to lose my if I come back and find out you released a Warframe and you're like, well, now you need 30,000 cubic diodes to build this frame's neuroptics. No. No. That would be unacceptable. Especially considering when we need all of our resources to, fill up our payload again. Hint, hint. But quite honestly, here's the deal. DE has really shot themselves in the foot, because DE always has this really backwards, strange logic in which if I go and say, ow, DE, I cut my hand. DE says, well, we can fix that. And then they poke my eye out. My natural reaction is, what the hell, DE? You just poked my eye out. And then they look at me and wink and say, but doesn't your hand feel better? No. No, it doesn't. My hand still hurts, and now I'm blind in one eye. And that's the state that we're at right now. Because DE has nerfed Arcwings, made them slower in hopes to make the Railjack feel better, and also, conspiracy theory time, to make K-drives feel better. But K-drives suck. In fact, if you watch my Why I Hate K-drives videos, you'll understand why K-drives are so bad. But again, that's a conspiracy theory. But we do know that they have nerfed the speed of Arcwings to try and make Railjack feel better. But here's the plot twist. You ready? Railjack still sucks. It doesn't feel good to fly. It feels like you're flying a wet lump of, you thought I was going to say something else, clay. I was going to say clay, really. So it just doesn't feel good to fly. Even if you start throwing all these speed avionics at it, it still doesn't feel good to fly. And I get there's supposed to be a feeling of mass there, right? I understand that. But it just, at the end of the day, it just doesn't feel good, right? And furthermore, DE has nerfed arc guns in an attempt to, guess what? Make Railjack guns feel better. But as I just said already, Railjack guns don't feel good to shoot. Oh, look at that. I've got a 58.5% increase in fire rate. That's fantastic. Oh, I can barely tap the trigger before the gun overheats. Yay. And unintentionally, DE has killed heavy weapons. Because heavy weapons are awful now. I was in an hour-long Kuba Bible. There was also a Requiem fissure the other day with a buddy of mine. And just about halfway through, about 30 minutes in, I break out the old heavy weapon, aka arc gun. It was awful. It was worthless. My secondary weapon was doing more damage than a heavy weapon. aka arc gun. So now we've got the situation where nothing feels good. Arc wings don't feel good because there used to be a point when you're flying on your arc wing and you go, wow, I gotta slow down, where's the brakes on this thing? And now you use arc wings and you go, okay, why am I so slow? Why do I feel like what's going on? Why is it taking me forever to go 2,000 meters? Why am I so slow? So arc wings feel horrible to fly. Arc guns are worthless now in regards to heavy weapons. Railjacks aren't fun. Railguns aren't fun. And what are we left with? Everything feels bad now. That's a real issue. And then we get to a really big problem to really drive home this point with DE. DE nerfed the Itzel because they felt like they were making all the players have to use the Itzel. No, DE. The Itzel is just the best tool for the job in regards to open world. That's what it is. Now, we got the same problem all over again, DE. If you're not using Amisha and Railjack, you're doing it wrong. So, are you going to take the same exact mentality with it that you did with the Itzel? So let's go ahead and nerf the Amisha. Let's go ahead and take the abilities off of it. Let's go ahead and give that to all other arc wings. Problem solved, right, DE? I mean, so what are you going to do? Either you're going to be consistent and continue down this moronic road, or you're going to be a hypocrite. There's no good way out of this for you. And this is the doo-doo that you have created and are now walking in. This is what you have done. So, obviously I don't want DE to nerf the Amisha, but if they were going to be consistent, they would have to. Because the very excuse they use to nerf the Itzel and give it a worthless ability is the very same state we're at right now with the Amisha in Railjack. So, yeah, that's a real issue. Just to kind of drive home the backwards logic that we have going on here at DE. And whoever's making these decisions needs to stop, like, ASAP. But I can hear my dog raising hell, so I apologize if you hear him in the background. He probably sees a squirrel outside or something, so just bear with me. You know, I'm a bit under the weather right now, so my voice probably sounds really rough at this point. But, yeah, my dog's raising hell. I'm sick. There you go. What do you know? But my point in all of this is we're at a point in the game where a lot of the game is no longer feeling good. And you get to items of concern such as vacuum, where, again, and I do mean again, we are asking DE for a buff to vacuum on arc wings and Railjack, and DE's attitude about it is, well, we didn't know that. We'll have to look into it, which is bullshit, because quite honestly, they've known about it for years. For literal years, we have been saying we needed a massive buff to vacuum on arc wings. For years, and I'm not talking months. I'm not over exaggerating. I mean literal years. We have been asking DE for a buff to vacuum on arc wings. It's always been a problem on arc wings. So DE implements arc wing into Railjack. Guess what? The problem didn't magically vanish. The problem is still present. What a surprise. If you have a flat tire and you don't fix it, you still have a flat tire. That's crazy, isn't it? No, it's just real life. If there's a problem, you're still going to have a problem until you address it. And now, DE is taking their very anti-vacuum mentality, added it to Railjack, and now Railjack vacuum is horrible as well. I can literally stand up against the side gunner glass in a Railjack and look dead at an avionics mod or a piece of wreckage floating right there, and there's not enough vacuum on the Railjack to even pick it up. But DE's attitude is like, whoa, we had no clue. We'll have to look into that. How many years do you need, DE? 10? Is it 10 years? Is 10 years the magic numbers before something actually improves there when we've been asking for it? 20? 30 years? 40 years exactly? Give us an idea. How many years exactly do you need? Because this isn't a new issue. It's not like you don't know about it. You do. So please don't give us that coy, well, we'll have to look into that. It's annoying. It is one of the most frustrating things ever. So, and understand, I'm not sitting here trying to rail DE in the face with all of this. My point is that we have got so many issues here. So many issues. And it's up to DE to fix it. And honestly, I don't know if they can. I truly do not know. So if they don't, 6 months time or less, DE, Railjack's, it's going to be a game mode that nobody plays, just like Arkwing. That's where we're headed at this point. And it's a shame. And it's frustrating. It really is, because we know you can do better. We know you can. We want you to succeed. It seems like, at least for me, I feel like I want DE and I want Warframe to succeed more than they do. And I get that same feeling from other content creators. They desperately want DE to succeed. They desperately want Warframe to succeed, but it just seems like DE doesn't want to. And it's the most frustrating thing in the world when you see that. Or when you see this just absolute train wreck coming, and you are waving your hands like an idiot. No, 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 stop, 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 stop. But instead of stopping, they just steer straight into the train wreck. It's like, why? Why? You know? So, yeah. But the heart of the matter is this. Can Railjack be saved? Can it be fixed? And again, this leads into all of those question marks surrounding Railjack. What DE is going to do with Railjack? We don't have a clear roadmap. We don't know what's going on. So ultimately, that's a huge question mark. But number one, mission variety. We need mission variety. Maybe you could implement a new type of rescue in which you plot into a particular Proxima, and you see all these refugee ships flying away, and the Greeneer just blowing them out of the sky, and they're unarmed vessels. You know, that would also add a little bit of depth as well as variety. And now we have to intercede to save these refugee ships, and that could be fun. Maybe you implement, and this has been kind of hinted at, like a raid type mission for Railjack, which would be awesome. Say, for example, you punch into a Proxima, all of a sudden this massive, gigantic Grenier Dreadnought class ship punches in, and boom, just automatically shuts down your Railjack. Now you have to make your way into the Dreadnought to work your way through this gigantic maze of a ship to finally take out a boss. Put some hidden stuff in there. That would be really fun and really cool. And then you can kind of take out the Dreadnought and go back to your Railjack. Gain control of your Railjack back again. That would be a lot of fun. What I personally would love to see for Railjack, it'll never happen because I think it's too much, too big. I don't think DE servers can handle it. I don't think the technology is there at the moment. But my dream for a space combat game is having, if you consider it like a relay, but instead of people just standing around and, you know, doing fashion frame, it's an actual instance of a megalithic space battle occurring. Explosions everywhere, wreckage everywhere, fights everywhere. You're seeing, you know, 2, 3, 4 other Railjacks, and maybe one of them is being destroyed, and you're seeing this in this. That would be epic. That would be monumental. But again, I think that's too big of an ask. I don't think that's something that can be done at this moment. I don't think the e-servers can handle it. I can just imagine the frame rate genocide that would be that would happen with that. But God, how epic would that be? How epic would that be? But anyway, any of these types of game modes would be fun. How about adding some new enemies? I mean, how long have we been dealing with the same enemies this entire time, right? Grenier, or how about Corpus or Corrupted or Infested? We've been dealing with these same enemies for years. Let's introduce some enemy that is like crazy powerful, right? Crazy friggin' strong. And ultimately, they just want to be left alone, like in some dark sector, Proxima somewhere. It's their zone. They don't want intruders. They don't want people, you know, creeping in on their territory. They're sick and tired of all this ridiculous space combat between the Grenier and the Tenno, so they step in and just start decimating us. And so now it becomes this big issue of this three-way battle, right? That would be a lot of fun. There's so many ideas you could do with mission types, man. So much variety. Just watch a science fiction movie, and like any science fiction you want. You know what? Watch Farscape. DE. Farscape. Fantastic freaking sci-fi TV show. God, I missed that show. The show was so awesome. I almost named my Railjack Moya. And you guys and gals that know will get the reference. Those that don't, well, you have to look that up. M-O-Y-A, Moya. Or Talon. You could have named it Talon. Get another reference, the same thing. You have to look that up as well. Anyway, Yeah, there are so many ways that you can go with different types of mission variety. But then we get into the other matter, and that is depth. We need a reason to be there. DE, I haven't hated or been mad at Grenier for years now. I mean, I have committed in this game, I have committed so much Grenier genocide, Corpus genocide, Infested genocide, which that's probably okay because they're really kind of disgusting, and Corrupted genocide. I don't feel mad at any of them. I don't get mad at a single one. I'm just like, oh, you poor devils, you. I feel so bad for you. Sometimes I want to join, like, I want the option to be like an evil Tenno, air quotes. You know, I want to, like, help the Grenier take out other Tenno, right? That would be freaking epic. You know, not that that would ever happen, but how epic would it be anyway? Needless to say, there are so many avenues you can go with mission types. And I know the general thought here is that, well, we're going to get new enemies once we get to the new war. But are we? Are we going to get new enemies? Or, you know, I just don't know. And maybe those enemies aren't enough, you know? Again, we need to know why we're there. We need to know the reasons that we're doing what we're doing. We need some real weight on issues. For example, if our Railjack actually does, which it's hard to believe, but if your Railjack does get destroyed, let's say, for example, we need some sort of weight on that, right? We need to see our Railjack explode. Obviously, it's not going to explode, you know, in game. You're still going to be in your Railjack, but having that, I think, would add like a real moment of gravity. Like, hey, that just happened, right? Something else. Why don't listen? And maybe you can fix Arcwing. Maybe you can fix Arc Guns in regards to heavy weapons. Maybe you can fix Railjack. Maybe you can fix Railjack guns, I should say. But I personally, at this point, have kind of given up on them and swept them under the rug. Like, yeah, nobody will notice that. Let's sweep that under there. And I would like to see Tenno fighters attached to the Railjack. That would be a hell of a lot of fun, right? Park your Railjack over there next to that dumpster asteroid, put your Arcwings in it, and go to Tenno form and hop in these little Tenno fighters that are blazingly fast. Give us like a fighter cockpit style HUD, a heads-up display, incredibly fast, nimble fighters. That would be a hell of a lot of fun. I want you to try to make me sick when I'm playing that game mode, right? Try to get me sick. Like, you know, oh, I'm pulling G's. You know, obviously you can't, but you get my point. That would be a hell of a lot of fun too. There's so many ideas that you could go with this game mode, and I just feel like you're scratching the surface. Even with the new war, we get sentience. Oh, hey, look, it's sentience again. Yay, you know. Honestly, and you know, it brings up another point. Where is our sentient Kubro? I would like a sentient Kubro, please. I mean, we have an infested Kubro. We have vampire, I almost said P word, cats, Kavats. So why can't we have like a sentient doggo? That would be fun. Like, we get to, you know, incubate a sentient doggo. That would be that would be interesting. Anyway, I'm going off the rails at this point, just like Railjack. But honestly, I think Railjack can be saved, and I do want it to be saved, but I do understand a lot of other content creators' frustration at this point. You put faith in a developer you know can do a good job, and you just see them making all these Three Stooges, you know, moves, and you're just like, what are you doing? What exactly are you doing? And it is frustrating. It is. It's frustrating to see. It's frustrating to behold. And I can understand why some content creators are just trying to take a step back. They're trying to get away from Warframe because they see it as clearly as anyone else. It's just a real shame. But I think ultimately, as always, the ball is in DE's court. And what they do with that ball is going to be their decision. Good, bad, ugly, great. We can't do anything about it. We can only sit here and hope that they find the right path. They can get out of their own damn way, maybe take a step back from Warframe for a minute, and get some content creators in there. Not me, you know, specifically. I'm talking about any other content creators. Have them take a look at it to see what you are not, because you're too close to the project. Because I can tell you, many a times there has been in which I've seen an issue coming a mile away, and there's nothing special about me. I'm just like any other gamer out there. We see these issues coming from miles away. and the developer is just oblivious to it. They just don't see it because they're too close to the project. And in fact, a lot of what's going on with Railjack is exactly where we're at this moment. So anyway, yeah, I think I've said my piece. Again, the whole point of this isn't to rant. The whole point of this wasn't to punk DE in the face. It was just kind of a, hey, these are my thoughts and opinion on it. This is where my frustration lies. This is why I don't play Railjack anymore. This is why I'm not playing it. This is why I have no desire to play it. This is why I have no desire to get my intrinsics up to rank 10, because what's the point, and yada, yada, yada. And I think it's an important perspective when players have this type of reaction to brand new content. So, yeah. Anyway, I want to hear from you guys and gals. We're almost at 500 subs. So, I think we're like 20-something subs away. So, I will do another giveaway, as I said. I'm keep my word. Said we'll do another giveaway at 500. So once we get there, I will be doing another giveaway. Haven't decided whether I want to do another Lotus Kubro, or if I would just want to do Plat. I'm uncertain at this point, but or maybe do a Prime, maybe a Prime frame, or maybe do a Prime package. I don't know. Maybe I'll do like a Loki and the Sentinel that came with him. Was it Helios? I think it was Helios, and maybe do. Was it the Axtiletto that came with Loki? I don't remember. I'll have to look. But anyway, let me know down in the comment section. I want to hear from you guys and gals. What do you think about Railjack? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you leave it? Did you try it? And until next time, peace and grace.